Man, you guys are not supposed to be out here. I'm gonna make a citizen's arrest and take this stuff.
You're gonna make a citizen's arrest on me?
Yeah, I'm gonna take this stuff here.
Yeah.
All right, I'm holding you. Call, get the marshal.
Get the marshal.
We'll see who's wrong. We'll see who's
You
wrong.
gonna get the marshal right now?
We'll see who's wrong.
Do you think there will come a day that you'll be vindicated of the horrible crimes of which you've been accused? We will, but don't. He's grabbing the mic. He's grabbing.
wrong. We'll see which one of you guys are wrong.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Here's the Pitch. I'm your friend Brad, and it's sponsored by Massa's Restaurants in St. Louis. STLMassas.com is their website. Go there if you're in St. Louis or driving through. Welcome to 2023, and again, I'll give you a little recap of the show that I heard on Monday, January 9th, 2023, but first I want to remind you today, you will see Gary Garver in a new interview, and we'll pick up from our last interview, so I look forward to talking to Gary Garver, former Interview to the Stars, and you saw in the tease what he does. But just a reminder here, you can always give super thanks. I've enacted that. I'm also going to be adding more shorts. So if you're interested in saying super thanks to your YouTube friend Brad, you can do that now. Thank you for being a fan of the show. Keep commenting if you want to see more daily recaps of the show. I listen to it and I go, why am I doing this? But I do it for you. Also, you'll see some more content being added to this channel. I'm going to add some kind of sub-channels, some real estate talk. We're going to talk law. We're going to talk money. We're going to talk sports. So you'll see some of those kind of show up here in my feed. But don't fret. You will still get all of your Howard Stern content. But if you're interested in how to make $1 million, I'm going to tell you how. Or someone who's very smart will tell you how. Or how to buy a house for with no money. We're going to do all that stuff here on this channel. So look forward to that, hopefully. But thank you for joining. And I'll just tell you a little bit about the show on Monday, January 9th, 2023. Once again, I don't know how people listen to this whole thing. I guessed it's still relevant and listening to it. He starts with dead comedians calling from heaven, and it's voices of people who sound like comedians who have died. And then he did a long thing on Pornhub's 2022 best of searches, and it brought in JD to talk about different things. That was interesting to hear JD talk about that. But this went on for a long time. Then Howard moved on to prostate awareness, and that went into how much he has to pleasure himself. He says it needs to be 20 times a month, and he's not there anymore. So interesting talk there. Then we went back to Pornhub topics and his favorite genres. This was the first hour of the show. Got a Dr. Now cameo message from Dr. Now, so he's a big fan of his. Again, more porn talk after that. A guy called in who talked about his penis being broken. Then Howard talked about how he doesn't like Google alerts, and turns out Beth does, and saw some on him, where how the former president, Donald Trump, was talking about how Howard is no longer relevant. And so that got him going into a conversation about politics, of course. And then he went into the story of John Bernthal and Norman Reedus talking about him on their podcast. It is Norman Reedus wants to be on Howard Stern, but evidently Baba Booey told him, no, we don't want you on there. That led into some goofing on Baba Booey. And it ended with Hollywood Squares outtakes with a guy who impersonates Howard, who I don't think sounds like Howard. You tell me, though. What do you think? So anyway, that's the rundown from January 9, 2023. I listened to it, so you don't have to, and you're not missing much. Maybe I'll get better. I don't know. But this is my first time actually listening to these shows again religiously like I used to. And it's definitely different. Needs Artie, in my opinion. Needs a few more voices, but that's that. So, again, coming up, we're going to have Gary Garver. He'll be talking about what he's up to. We'll talk about some fun times with him. But let's take a look back at some of Gary's greatest memories, and then we'll bring him in.
Have you ever farted and blamed it on somebody else?
No.
Are you green?
Yeah.
Should Michael Vick be allowed to get a dog?
It's up to Mrs. Vick, I guess.
Is Betty White a hot piece of ass?
Is a hot what?
Hot piece of ass?
No, she does show her more respect, young man.
Don't talk. Don't ask me anything. Why? Put your mic down.
Remember I met you by the car?
Put your mic down.
What did I do?
Talking to her.
Okay.
Put your mic down.
All right, relax.
Hello, Gary. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too, Brad. What am I doing? I'm still doing radio, man. I have a show on KCAA 1050 AM 106.5 FM in the Inland Empire called Control Chaos. It's on Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. where it's therapy for me now. It's not even doing a show. It's more therapy for me where I just rant and rave.
I can't believe you. You actually rant and rave? You actually have thoughts and get angry and shit?
Every now and then I'll get a little angry. And it's more, I try to make people laugh, man. I mean, there's so much hatred and misery and people ranting and raving and yelling at one another. I try to just, I try to tell it like it is. I'm not on the left or the right. I'm just for what's right for America and just give my point of view and try to have a few chuckles and play some of my crazy ass interviews that I did for the Howard Stern show and just have fun. I try to have fun on the show.
Yeah. And then, of course, people who come to my channel come because they know of, I'm talking to people who've been part of the show. We had a conversation about a year ago. I still love the OJ interview. I went back and watched it again. You had this relationship with OJ. Like, you started with the golf course with him. Have you run into him lately? You're still alive, so obviously you probably haven't.
I haven't run into OJ for a long time. Last time I saw OJ was at his preliminary hearing in Las Vegas. I actually went out there and got into the courtroom, and it was a preliminary hearing before he got convicted of armed robbery. And the strangest thing is that I'm sitting in the courtroom, they take a break, and OJ turns around and waves at me and points his finger and waves me over. And I was like, hey, OJ, how you doing? And he goes, I heard you're not working for Howard anymore. And at that time, it was, I think, 2007, 2008, I was still working for Howard. I go, no, I'm still working for him. And I go, do you have anything to say to him? He goes, no, but every now and then I listen to him in my Ford Bronco. I am not joking. He actually said that. So that was the last time I saw OJ. So that was about 15, 16 years ago. But yeah, we had a weird dynamic for a few years there. And one of my favorite interviews, one of my craziest interviews was interviewing OJ and fighting with him on the golf course when I asked him if he was sharpening his knives in case he got remarried. And you can check that out on YouTube. And I play that every now and then on my show.
Yeah, that's your YouTube channel. You can check out Gary has his own channel. Was that a question that you came up with, or was it a Howard question?
No, Howard always, listen, the one thing that I got to tell everybody and reiterate is that I never asked a question that the Howard Stern people did not write. I never went off script. I had a list of questions. And yeah, that was a question that Howard wrote or Jackie or Artie or whoever it was. But I never went off script. Every question I asked was from the Howard Stern show. So don't think I'm the crazy mother effer that wrote those questions. I never wrote one of them. I never did, and I never went off script. I always asked what they asked me to ask. And, you know, sometimes it went good and sometimes it went not so good.
It's very brave. I don't know if I have the balls to just walk up to celebrities and ask questions that are just like insane like that. I guess you have those type. Any time where did you look at them when they send them and you're like, I can't. How am I gonna? Or you're like, screw it. I'm just asking them.
Yeah, I did it many times. In fact, one of the first interviews I ever did was Evel Knievel. I was at a boat show. I was with my future ex-wife, and it was at the LA Convention Center. It was like probably the third or fourth interview I'd done for Howard. And I'm thinking that, you know, Evel Knievel, you know, the red, white, and blue jumpsuit, Mr. Bravado, all this stuff. And I see him walking in. I see this old man walking in with like a walker. And I turn to my future wife and I go, I think that's Evel Knievel. It's like, she goes, yeah, I think it is too. And I go, I can't ask him these questions. And she goes, well, don't ask him. I go, well, it's my job. I have to. And I actually asked him, you know, a couple of questions. It was a great interview. If you haven't heard it, I play it every now and then. But one of the questions I asked him was, what was worse, jumping the Grand Canyon or getting a divorce? And he goes, no. I didn't jump the Grand Canyon. I jumped the Snake River Canyon. Ask me again. I go, what was worse, jumping the Snake River Canyon or getting the divorce? And then he goes, well, what does one thing have to do with the other? And then the following question was, have you ever broken your penis in an accident? And he goes, what? What kind of stupid fucking question is that? That's really stupid. I go, thanks, Evel. And then, so yeah, there was a few questions. There's a couple of times that I saw the questions and I actually did not ask the question because I thought it was just way too rude or just way too overboard. But I'd say probably 95 to 98% of the time, I was like a great white shark. I mean, I was going through a rough time in my life. I just, fuck it. I'm going in there like a great white shark. And that's how I approached it. And that's why I was able to do it. I don't think I could do it now. I don't think I could go out there and ask crazy ass questions now. It's way beyond. But back then, I was angry. I was pissed. I hated life, and I didn't give a fuck. And that's how I did it. And actually, it worked out to my benefit because not giving a fuck. The only way you can do that is not giving a fuck and not caring. And that's how I approached it.
Yeah, it feels like something you can really only do in your 20s and early 30s. You get into your 40s and 50s, and you sort of have to grow up.
So it was sort of a weird dynamic of how it all worked. It was crazy, but I mean, 10 years of it. In fact, it's weird because I left the show in 2008 under, basically Howard fired me for doing what I was supposed to do, get in trouble. I mean, the only time he really played the interviews was when people yelled at me or was an A-lister. If people were cool with me, he didn't play them. So he played literally probably about 30% of the interviews I did. But out of the blue, they fired me in 2008 or whatever. But this year, crazily, I got a holiday card from Howard.
Wow.
And out of the blue, Brad. And it said, it was from New York. And I'm like, what's this from New York? And it was it wasn't a Christmas card. It was a holiday card. And it said, remember us? And it said, happy holidays. Love, Beth and Howard and the cats and a rabbit too. Well, he wasn't signed, but it was like, wow, how did he get after 13, 14 years or 15 years, whatever it was, I get this holiday card from him. Remember us, it's kind of weird.
Therapy's going well, seemingly, for him, finally, after 70 years old.
yeah, he's making amends with everybody now. He was in therapy when I was working on the show back in the early 90s. So, it was kind of weird. It's kind of strange to get a holiday card. And then I sent one back, and I go, hey, of course I remember you. Great times. Thank you for putting me on the map. Wish all the best for you. But it was kind of bizarre after 14 years. I was like, how do you know I lived in Palm Springs? I mean, they had to track me down basically to get my address.
Now, I didn't ask this last time. I didn't have enough time. Did you sell a gift that Howard gave to you on eBay? Did that happen? And is my memory wrong?
Yeah.
Tell me about that. And how did that go for you?
I mean, listen, at that time, it was 2011, 2012. I was kind of hurting for money. I was sort of struggling financially. And I was just like, screw it, man. I mean, I went on eBay and somebody told me you should sell Howard's crap. I mean, it was just sitting there. I was never going to wear the watch. It was a huge watch. And I put it on eBay just for shit and giggles. And then somebody bought it for $1,500. So I was like, I just didn't care at that point. I mean, it was like I said, I needed the money and, I had no allegiance towards Howard. I was pissed off at the whole show for basically abandoning me for doing what I was supposed to do was bust balls on celebrities and events. And they let me go, which is fine. But I had no allegiance. But yeah, I sold that on eBay. Yeah, it was a watch that he had given me for a Christmas present. We used to exchange Christmas presents. I used to go and give him I used to buy him a case of wine from Paso Robles and send it all the way to New York. And they'd send me gifts. It was weird. But it is what it is. But yeah, I did sell that. And I think I sold a couple things of his that he had sent me.
Well, let's get together. What else you got? Let's start a swap shop right here.
I have a tie, I think, the Howard Stern private parts tie. I've got I don't know. It's all buried in, when I moved, there's tons of shit I got. I don't even know what I have, but hey, listen, it was a great run. I got nothing but love for Howard. I mean, he allows me to play I play my celebrity interviews on my show. I play my Dark Nihilist interview, which is one of the most famous interviews I did. OJ, Jack Nicholson, Joe Pesci, Morgan Freeman, the list goes on and on and on, but he allows me to play it. I'm probably the only person in America, or one of the only people in America on terrestrial radio that actually has Howard Stern on his show every now and then, because I play where I called into the show and he's talking to me about doing the interviews. And, so it's kind of cool. And he's never done a cease and desist. And I really appreciate that. So it's kind of cool. And we have this weird, I guess we have a weird relationship because I got a holiday card from him. So it is kind of weird.
No, you're right. I mean, that no one who's, gone by him or passed him over has gotten one of those. So your last call, was it in 2009? Because I know you got fired around 2008. I was looking this up. Yeah. And you still, Howard was trying to make amends, and you're like, F you. No, I'm mad. I'm still pissed. I think it was great radio. And then Gary comes in and Baba Booey. And that's what I love about you is like, you were like, no, F you. I'm still pissed.
Well, I mean, what happened is that, I was, after 2006, I left KLSX after I'd been working there for 17 years. It was a classic rock station in Los Angeles. And then it became a talk station. I had a talk show and stuff like that. And I basically left in 2006 when Howard left to go to Sirius. And I decided back in 2006, I wanted to be a producer of shows, of these reality TV shows. It was just first starting. And I thought, I knew all these porn stars and adult stars. I'm like, why don't I follow around a porn star and see how they really live? Are they just psychos, or do they have millions, or, are they a bunch of whores, or they got family, kids, whatever. So I created this thing called A Day in the Life of a Porn Star. Me and my buddy Robert Sanchez, who you might have met doing filming over at Escape.tv, because I think that's where we originally met, was Escape.tv. So we decided to create a reality TV show, and I pitched it to Howard. Well, actually, I pitched it to Doug Goodstein, who was a producer of Howard TV at the time. He loved the idea. We went back 6 months. Back and forth 6 months, emails. We shot 2 of them. And we actually talked to a lawyer. We had a conference call with my attorney about how much they were going to pay us and how many episodes we were going to do. We actually did one. We both did one we went to Vegas and shot. They brought a crew from New York. Howard TV brought a crew from New York. I brought my crew from Los Angeles. I was like, wow, this is really happening, man. This is really effing happening. This was like 2007. And then all of a sudden they just blew it off and didn't pay me a penny, didn't give me anything, just completely blew it off, and then started doing some episodes with Bigfoot and Miss Black Howard Stern and a couple, and Jessica Hahn, and A Day in the Life of Jessica Hahn, Day in the Life of Bigfoot. Now, I didn't have the Day in the Life, copyright or whatever. But the bottom line is I didn't get paid anything. And I spent 6 months, me and Robert spent 6 months going back and forth with them. If they said, no, we didn't want to do it, we would have never wasted our time. So that's what really pissed me off. I've gotten over it, but that was the one thing I was like, wow. Howard just signed a $100 million 5-year contract, $500 million, and they couldn't even throw me a bone. They couldn't throw me like a couple thousand. Hey, here's for your hard work. I got zero. And then Doug Goodstein acted like he never even spoke to me. And that's what really pissed me off. And that's why I sort of like sabotaged myself with the show. I said, fuck them. They're going to treat me like this. And I don't know if it was Howard. Like I said, me and Howard are cool and all that. It's water over the bridge. I'm just explaining how it came about that I was pissed off and left the show. And that was really the essence of me leaving the show.
Are you listening to the show these days? Are you a lifer and keep?
No.
There's reasons.
Yeah, I haven't listened to the show. No, I haven't heard one bit from the show since I left in 2008. I have not heard one word of it. I swear to God, I just haven't. People telling me, oh, Gary, I heard your OJ interview. I heard your Dark Nihilist interview, or blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, really? Cool. They're still playing my shit, I guess. But no, once I left, I was gone. And I have not heard any of it. Have you?
Do you? Darth Nihilist. I am attempting to see if people here want to have a rundown of the show. So I put a rundown of what's gone on. I don't listen. So now I have Sirius back because I have a free subscription for the next 6 months. It's torturous, I'd say. It's not what it used to be, it just, it's not something I'd be seeking out, to be honest, unless there's an interview that I want to hear. I just don't. Him and Robin just bantering and some of the stuff they banter about, I don't know. I'm interested on how people still enjoy it. It's weird.
Well, listen, you evolve, and he's been doing it for 1,000 years. And, like I said, I haven't heard the show since 2008. People have told me it's not the same. I don't know. Hey, listen, everybody changes. Everybody does their own thing. But I don't think he can be as hardcore now as he was back then, because he's got a lot more to lose. He's got to deal with a lot more personalities over at Sirius, a lot more celebrities, things like that. So he can't just rake on celebrities and doing all that. And I don't think he wants to. Just like me, I wouldn't want to go out and do the celebrity interviews anymore. I stopped doing that I kept on doing it until about 2017, but I just go to like one event on Oscar night of 100 stars. And they knew me, and I wasn't like busting balls, like asking really rude questions. I was asking sort of far out questions, but you know, you evolve, and I think he's evolved, and I think he just, I don't know if he gives a shit or not. He probably does. He still wants to do great radio, but I'll say one thing: the guy is the Michael Jordan of radio, of talk radio. I mean, there's no one in his class really that did what he did back in the day. I don't know now, but when I was working with him, it was, you know, it was amazing. He's an amazing broadcaster.
Yeah, in your days, you worked at KSLX in LA, and you were kind of producing the show. So I assume you had to pretty much listen to the whole thing from the time you were working there, right? And so as I asked this, what's your favorite era? Artie, Jackie? Can you disseminate between those two from the time that you were listening?
I mean, I like them both. I consider them both. I don't know if you know, you say friends, acquaintances, whatever. But when I hung out with them, I hung out with both of them a few times, and they're both really nice guys. I like them. You know, nothing but love for them. You know, Jackie wrote a lot of Howard's material, from what I understand, from how it was explained to me. I don't know exactly what Artie did, except for maybe just be a co-host. But like I said, I have nothing but love for those two guys. And for the show, I mean, I got no one really to say anything bad about. They're all good people. We always had a good time together. And I don't like Doug Goodstein. I think he's a effing liar. But I heard he got fired. Like, they blew out Howard TV about a year after they did what they did to me. So I was kind of, I'll be honest with you, I was kind of happy to hear they blew out Howard TV and blew out Doug. I didn't like what Doug did to me. Doug was a complete douche, lying motherfucker. And I still, if there's one person I can't stand, it's Doug Goodstein. He's a fucking liar. And I will, until he apologizes and kisses my toes, you know, unwashed toes, that is, he can kiss my ass. I mean, that was the one person that really fucked me as far as I was concerned.
No holiday cards, I guess.
No holiday cards from, no, not at all. Not from Doug Goodstein. But the rest of them, hey, listen, everybody's cool. Like I said, I'm very blessed to be able to play bits from the show, and like I said, you know, I guess Howard and I are good because I can't believe that he sent me that card. You know, that's just a mind blower to me. I mean, that was really, I mean, I was like, whoa. And then it said, remember us. I'm like, wow. So I guess we're cool.
Yeah, and I mentioned this the last time that, you know, Stuttering John, you were kind of the LA Stuttering John. He was asking the questions in New York and had a stutter. Do you keep up with him at all? I mean, that's a guy probably not getting a holiday card from Howard, I don't think.
No, not after he tried it. I don't know if you heard, but he tried to sue the show. He filed a lawsuit against Howard because Howard, I guess, was using his material, and John wanted money for that because he was a part of the show. So he thought he was, you know, I'm like, are you give me a fucking break, John? You know, you're a fucking idiot. You know, you were a small part of the show. And it was years ago, and to try to sue Howard, I mean, it's like, you know, trying to sue like Donald Trump, and you're like me, you know what I mean? It's not going to happen. You're not going to get anywhere. So no, I haven't seen John in a few years. I saw him John's kind of weird. I'll tell a quick story. I saw him at the Sagebrush Cantina in Calabasas a few years ago, and we were hanging out, and he'd get a Corona, smoke a cigarette, smoke half the cigarette, drink half the Corona, and then put out the cigarette in the Corona, and then order another one, and would do the same exact thing again. He did it about 5 times, and I'm like, what the fuck's wrong with this guy?
I guess, you know, I was going back to my question about listening. Were you an actual fan, though, like back in the day? Or were you enjoying the show as you, like, was that like a great dream job that you got to sit and your job was to work on this show and listen to it kind of meticulously, or no?
Well, I mean, it was my first real full-time job in radio back in 1991. So, yeah, I was kind of ecstatic about doing it. I mean, I had to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning, you know, to pick up the feed live at 3 a.m. So that's, you know, 5 days a week, you know, working from 3 a.m. to 8 a.m. I, you know, completely screwed up my whole being and thought process. And I did that for 15 years. But I mean, you know, the thrill of it was, you know, being a part of this radio show, a new concept. Nobody thought it was going to work in Los Angeles because it was taped. It was on tape delay, you know, rebroadcast in LA. And everybody at the radio station, I remember all the jocks, all the the Jim Ladds of the world. And all these guys said, hey, it's never going to work, blah, blah, blah. And in a year's time, we were the #1 morning show in Los Angeles, and we kicked Mark and Brian's ass. So, yeah, that was exciting. That was cool. So, yeah, I mean, you know, when I first first listened to the show, I was like, who the fuck is this guy? This guy's nuts. And, you know, and even Dion, who was working with me, he was doing the board, and I was in the 2-track producing the show, you know, on reel-to-reel tape and cutting it and getting it ready for the rebroadcast. He was like, man, we were like, who the fuck is this guy? This guy's nuts, man. When it first started out, but in a year's time, we were the #1 show in Los Angeles. So yeah, that was a big thrill. And then, you know, being on the show and being a part of the show and having him call in to me and, you know, having me do the interview. So yeah, it was an amazing run. I'll say it was an amazing run, 16 years of it. But I wasn't a fan at first, but you know, it sort of grows on you. The show sort of grows on you, and then you take it with a grain of salt. You don't take everything personal, like, you know, because a lot of people take shit personal there on the show.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, if you're a listener, did you have a favorite moment that didn't involve you, that you just think back driving in or listening or cutting the tape going, wow, I can't believe I'm listening to this?
Geez,
Put you on the spot.
I listened to every friggin' show. I can't. It was like in one ear and out the other, to tell you the truth. I can't. You know, Sam Kinison was always cool. Always loved listening to Sam Kinison be on the show. Who else? Just some of the bits that he did. I like the news. I like Robin's news. I always thought that was kind of cool. You know, the girls and all that crap. I was just like, you know, I mean, that got sort of old, you know, but I liked when he was doing celebrity interviews with some of these people and stuff like that. I like when Trump would call in. That was kind of cool. Like, he, you know, Trump and Howard on the air together. That was, yeah, I like that part. I mean, so I just can't even, you know, tell you the truth, Brad. It was so long ago. I can't even think about it.
And it's funny, though, what I was thinking about today, listening to the show, I miss Fred, like Fred and the drops. Like, and as you mentioned, Robin doesn't really do news, but Fred was always there, and he still has them, and they're still there, but everything is so, like, scaled back. But Fred, there was a moment where Artie heard a porn lady going, ow, yeah, and it just led into this hour-long bit, and then Jackie laugh. All you did, you'd like have a story about Susan Smith driving her kids into, and you'd hear, hee, and then you're just laughing. You're not supposed to laugh at that, but you're laughing because you got the Jackie drop.
But you know why? Because what Jackie would laugh, that Jackie laugh was because Jackie would give Howard a piece of paper, like slide Howard a piece of paper. That's how he basically, and then Howard would either read it or not read it. So when you heard Howard do like this terrible, you know, wording on something or talk about something that was terrible, and you heard Jackie laugh, that's because Jackie had written that for Howard. Right. He's like, you know, and I was told that by Andy Bloom, who's the program director at KLSX, and told me how the whole thing worked. But yeah, I mean, it was just so out of control, and Fred's drops were amazing, and just the whole show, it's a dynamic show. I mean, you know, all the help that they have and all the things that they do, it's like I said, he's the Michael Jordan of broadcasting, no doubt.
Yeah. James Garner hit you with a cane. Tell me some times where you were like frightened. I mean, he's an old man at that time, but were there any times where you?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes there was like, a couple times there was like, you know, bodyguards that got into my face. You know, and a couple, you know, security guards that got into my face and things like that. But nothing where there was going to be any blows. I mean, they were just like, you know, like I said, a couple times they get upset with me. Of course, they get upset with me and trip out. And if they got in my face or they touched me, I didn't care if he threw me out. I didn't say, get the fuck out, blah, blah, blah. I didn't care about that. But when they grab me or try to grab me, I said, don't touch me. Don't touch me. I'll leave. Just tell me to leave. But don't touch me, because I didn't dig that. That was the only time that I got upset. It happened maybe a dozen times over 10 years, and but nothing where there was any blows. I never got arrested. I never had the cops come and chase me down. Nothing. In fact, one of the events I used to go to, there was sheriff deputies all around it. I went to it a half a dozen times, got thrown out of it 5 out of the 6, and those guys were laughing about it. So it was, you know, it was pretty. And LAPD Celebrity Golf Tournament, went there a bunch of times, got Jack Nicholson, Joe Pesci, a bunch of different interviews. And I got thrown out of there 3 or 4 times, but the cops didn't do anything either. I mean, they just said, go, please leave, and I'd leave. So it was when It's when the public, the people that took themselves too serious were the publicists and the security guards. They would get upset with me and they would just flip out. But the security guards sometimes, a handful of times, there was, they'd touch me and I was like, don't touch me, I'll leave. Then they'd take their hands off of me and I'd leave. And that was it. So.
How did you develop a relationship with Bryan Cranston? I saw kind of a nice sit down you've done with him a few times, right? How did you guys hook up?
I interviewed him at the Writer Guild Awards, and he grew up in the Valley. And we started talking about growing up in the Valley, and I had Escape.tv at the time, that internet TV network that we were just launching into. That I can imagine what that thing would have been worth nowadays. But anyways, long story short. I said, hey, man, why don't you come on my show? He goes, I will. I promise you I will. And he gave me his card. I called him, and he lived up to his promise. He came on my show, and we started talking and did that great interview, 20 minutes long. And he's a great guy. It was right when he started Breaking Bad. It was right then at the first season. And look how his career has taken off. Amazing. But that was the reason he hooked up with me is because we both grew up in the Valley at the same time, San Fernando Valley. And that's why he really did it.
Yeah, well, I'm assuming that would not happen today. I don't think he's walking around with a cart.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe he would. Maybe he'd remember, hey, Gary, who knows? Yeah, I mean, you know what? The cool thing is like the A-list celebrities got the job and got the gig. And but if you were going down, like once you got down to C, D, E, F, G, they didn't get it so much. They took themselves way too serious, and that's when the shit hit the fan at times with those guys. It wasn't with the Morgan Freemans and the Jack Nicholsons of the world, or Joe Pesci's. It was with the D-list celebrities. And then you have a Rosie O'Donnell, who's a total cunt. And Adam Sandler is a total fucking douchebag. And Andy Garcia, who takes himself way too serious. So I can rattle off a bunch of assholes, celebrity assholes if you want. But yeah.
What made Sandler an asshole? What did he do?
Well, I mean, I tried to interview him twice, and he had me thrown out at both events. Before I even got near him, he had me thrown out. And that's why I was like, dude, first of all, you're a fucking comedian. Okay, you're supposed to be able to get the joke, but the guy doesn't have a sense of humor at all. I mean, the worst people with senses of humor on those red carpet events are comedians. They fucking do not like that shit because you're trying to upstage them, so they don't get the jokes. Comedians were the worst. I'd say musicians and sports athletes were the best, and then the A-list celebrities were the best. I loved interviewing A-list celebrities if I got them because they always got the joke. Sports athletes, musicians, A-list celebrities, and then once you went down the list, comedians and C-list down were complete assholes. And then, like I said, you get the Rosie O'Donnells of the world and the Andy Garcias and whoever else was out there.
I was going to say, give me your top 5 worst, but I think you've done that.
No, I think I did. I think Rosie and I'd have to. You can look at my book, Radio Blows. I have a book out on Amazon called Radio Blows, and I list the top 10 cool celebrities and the top 10 uncool celebrities. I can't name them off all this at this point, but I know Rosie. She was a total fucking cunt. I hate her fucking guts. She's a piece of shit. Andy Garcia is he's a turd too. And who else? I don't know. Those are and Sandler. Those are the top 3 I can think of off the top of my head.
Oh, it's hard to rile you up, Gary. I'm sorry that we couldn't get the excitement out of you today. Well, you mentioned your book.
Whatever.
Yeah, we mentioned your book. We mentioned you have a YouTube channel. You can go check out some of these old interviews. They're great if you just get some time and see Jerry Seinfeld and Martin Short. They're very funny seeing you do these. And then you're obviously doing your thing out in L.A. You just talked to Alan Dershowitz, I guess, today. So if you want to plug that right now, tell people if they want to hear you, if there's a way of streaming you worldwide.
Yeah, go to kcaaradio.com, kcaaradio.com, that website. I'm on every Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Pacific to 10 a.m. Pacific. It's called Controlled Chaos. All you have to do is hit listen live, and you can listen to the show. Like I said, it's a fun show. I make you laugh. I make you cringe. I may make you cry every now and then. But I try to entertain you and basically just talk about what's going on in our society and not from like the right or left standpoint, but what everybody else is what we're really thinking. Because I think it's all a bunch of bullshit with this left and right stuff. I think most of us are right down the middle. And we just want what's best for us. And we're just trying to survive. I know you've gone through some tough times recently. Sorry about the loss of your mom. I lost my brother. It's going to be a year on Saturday that I lost my brother to a rare brain disease, and I took care of him for 9 years. I was his caregiver. So I'm just trying to survive like the rest of us. And life is so short. Stop taking yourself so serious. Stop taking stupid shit so serious, and try to just enjoy life and try to be the best person you can be and try to help one another. And I think that's my message when I do my show.
That's awesome. Well, hopefully we'll get to hear it out here. We'll have people listen. Hopefully this gets some traction. Gary, always fun to talk to you. It was good catching up again. We'll keep this up as we always do. I enjoy these stories. Always fun. Good seeing you.
Brad, thank you, man. Good seeing you, too. And you got to come on my show, okay, too. You got to do my show.
I'm in. That's Gary Garver here on Here's the Pitch. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.